I got it together. And it's like, why hasn't it happened for me?
I'm not sure if this dude's a believer or not, but I think his feelings on his situation mimic what a lot of believers feel in our day-to-day as we deal with the world around us. You've been doing things God's way. You've been trying to set things up perfectly and do what you need to do. And it just seems like you're not succeeding at the same speed or the same level as those around you. Even more so, you see people who are blatantly against God seem to win at everything and succeed at everything. And of course, we know the scripture, don't be weary in well doing, because we understand that, like, you're doing the right thing. That should be its own reward. You're honoring God. That should be its own reward. But it does get frustrating when you see the world around you basically disrespect God and get millions or get accolades or get position when you're doing what you need to do. And it seems like everything in the world is keeping you down. And whenever I get that way, I start to think about Abraham and Sarah. And the reason I think about them is because if you've read the story, Abraham and Sarah have been trying for a son. God basically was like, yo, if you do what I tell you, I'll make you the father of many nations. You'll bear a son in your old age, yada, yada, yada. Sarah laughed, all that good stuff. What we don't talk about enough is Sarah and Abraham got super impatient with waiting for their child to come. Meaning they had been working for so long that even though God had literally come down and told them, hey, this is going to happen, they were still super impatient and did something outside of the will of God to try and force what God had already spoken to happen. Call it a lack of faith, call it whatever you want to call it. Abram wasn't worshiping God before, and he met God, and basically God was kind of proving himself to him to be like, hey, I'm God, right? But what they did was Sarah had a handmaid named Hagar. She gave Hagar to Abraham and was like, yo, smash her, have a child by her, have the son by her, and that'll be what God had promised you. So, of course, Abraham did so, and after he did that, then Sarah conceived, and, now he got 2 children, 2 sons. So in him doing that, Abraham opened up an entire cesspool for himself because contention broke out between Hagar and Sarah. There was a whole lot going back and forth, which ultimately ended once Sarah conceived in her telling him to send Hagar away, meaning send Hagar and the boy away, kick him out into the wilderness because the person that God promised you to bear you a son has finally bore you a son. Thankfully, God is merciful. And while Hagar was out there in the middle of the wilderness and her and Ishmael was about to die, God made a way for them and they survived. But think about what Abraham could have avoided had he just waited and been patient and done what God had told him to do. And that's basically where I'm getting to with this whole video. If we stay patient, yes, is it going to look bad to us, right? Our limited worldview is going to show us that everybody around us is doing 10 times better than us and not doing the things that they're supposed to be doing. And we're doing what we're supposed to be doing based off what we believe and what we were taught. And even when we do that, we're just going to be 2 or 3 steps behind. But if we jump the gun and try to force God's hand instead of being patient for him to bless us, we'll put ourselves in a position that we can't handle. So for this original person's video, by all means, keep working, keep striving. There's not a timetable on it. You're an adult male. Pretty sure there's a woman out there who either saw your video or follows your content, and you'll meet up, and y'all will figure it out. In terms of anybody else who's really doing your best to stay the course and stay on the path that God has written out for you, and you're seeing people pass you by, think about the tortoise and the hare. Think about Abraham. Think about how a lot of the parables that Jesus talked about was where things spring up and seem successful early, but die off quickly because they don't have good roots. I bring up farming all the time. One of the first things that a seed does when it starts to grow is put roots down. And that's so it can establish itself, pull nutrients, and have a good base to grow up from. So take your time. Your roots are spreading. Believe what God told you and keep it going.